You're listening to Good Reporters Podcast, encouraging you to use your platform and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, because good reporters bring good news. Yes, sir. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Chris Edwards, aka Young Christ-like on social media, and today I want to come to you with a new topic. We're back in the swing of things. Like I told y'all last week, man, I'm like a little kid again, coming back, just spreading the good news, sharing the gospel. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me at all times. Thank you so much for listening, man. Thank you so much for streaming. Thank you so much for downloading. And if you have subscribed already, thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If it's YouTube, it's probably over here somewhere. If it's just the podcast on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, please subscribe because I just really would love to have you as a part of the Good Reporters family and consistently hearing the good news with a twist. We got to have some fun here. So I'm just so grateful to have you on here right now. And today I'm going to bring forth a new topic. And, well, likely as I like to do every week. But we're going to come to you with a new topic. And this topic is a topic that it really impacts, a lot of people. It impacts me a lot too. Just falling, messing up. You have those mess ups. And you just go through all those feelings of failure, shame, served with a side of Sprite. You know what I mean? Just all these things. There's just nothing good for it. And that is the perfectionism. That is perfectionism. In this episode, I would like to call the Perfectionist Paradox. Just thinking about what perfectionism is and what perfectionist means. Whoa. Let's get it together. Speaking about what perfectionist is, being a perfectionist is, and what perfectionism does to us as believers and as human beings. And so I'm going to get the handy dandy cell phone out here right now. But yeah, for me, at least I could just go through my own experiences and just the way that I deal with this and how I've been going through it, and really just be real and be honest, and to really just kind of tackle the idea that for me, I couldn't seem to get that perfectionist monkey off my back. And I know I got the lust elephant episode, and now we're talking about perfectionist monkey, and so apparently I'm just out here talking about all these animals and throwing them in there, but that's the way that I could best visualize it. And for me, that perfectionist monkey was just always climbing on my back and just hard to get off. Reason being, I like things to go well. I like things to be good. Who can't relate with that, right? Who can't say, when I do something, when I put out a project, I would love for that project to be a good project. Who can't say when I put out a shirt, I would like the material to be nice. Who can't say if I put out a song, I would love for the way that it's recorded in the background. Who can't say when I put out a podcast episode, I would hope the audio comes out super clean and the video super clean and you guys love the episode because it was the best episode you've ever seen of a podcast. Don't all tell me that at once. But if you want to, the comment section is always available and I'm ready to hear it. But let's not say who doesn't want that. And so for me, just thinking about the things that I do, even when we talk about this podcast, I released it later than I should have. Let's just get straight to the fact. This podcast should have been created. We're on 31 episodes. Glory to God. We're on 31 episodes. Glory to God. But this podcast episode, realistically, it could have been out a lot. This podcast itself, realistically, could have been out a little earlier. But the Perfectionist Monkey was on my back. And I just wanted to make sure when I released it, I had a great camera. I want to release it. We'll have great audio. I want to release it and, have all the great content and what have you. And I think it holds people back more than it does any good, especially in just a community of believers. And that goes for anything. That goes for dating. I've done that. I've done it all. And it could stop us from really just taking a risk. And I remember I had this really deep conversation with my friend this week, and she helped me out a lot. My friend Jessica, not my girlfriend Jessica, I have a girlfriend Jessica, but my friend Jessica, she sat there and we spoke, and we were having a conversation, and she was kind of just talking to me about, how am I doing? And I went ahead and I went in spill mode. I'm like, man, went through this, going through that, feeling this, and I was thinking this, but I know it's this, and and I was just telling her all these things. And she sat there and she took it and she heard me and we spoke and we communicated and it was a great conversation. And then the next day she called me back and she was like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? And hey, I'm not going to tell you all the details of conversation, But I appreciated what she did because she sat with me and she talked to me, and she kind of used my words on me too, which is pretty cool, which I really appreciated because it was just like looking at these episodes, right? Um, when I create them, when I put them down and I send them out, a lot of the advice that I give and a lot of the things that I've received just through the spirit or just through praying and just through life, it's true. It's real. I really feel them. I really know it, and it's really true. But to kind of go through life, sometimes we still, even though I could say this and I could tell you this, what you could do and what you should do, the perfectionism monkey, that perfectionist monkey will come right back and jump on my back and still try to make me, like I'm gonna just do it episode. What did I tell y'all? Just, sometimes just getting it done is just starting it. Once you get started, you get rolling. And for me, I know that, I feel that, and then there'll be that one day of shame, and then it just hits me, and I'm just like, what if I try to do this, and what if I try to put out this shirt, and they don't like the size of it, they don't like the way that, and it happens, and it's so subtle, and it's just deception from the enemy, but it happens. So let's just get to the fact that reality-wise, as believers, as Christians, it will or should or can or it will happen where you know what you should do, you think what you should do, but then perfectionism comes in and tries to take over. Like, oh, but it's got to look like this, or it's got to be like this, or oh, I know I'm going to start doing this, but when I start doing it, I want it to be da 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 da, and you just don't get it done, or you just don't put out the sermon, or you just don't take the opportunity to be that speaker at this event, or you just don't, you know what I mean, because you feel like, I don't think I'm ready for that. Or better yet, for unbelievers, you just don't come to Christ because you feel you're not perfect enough to come to him. Oh my gosh, I mean, that one just hit me. You know what I mean? Like that just came into my mind just now. Like the perfectionist monkey could even come in here. Like perfectionism could be that thing. I've heard that. How many of us have heard that? Where it's just like, yo, I mean, I'm gonna give my life to God and stuff, but like, I gotta get it out, and I gotta just, just, I'm not ready yet. Like God won't accept me the way I am. Like unbelievers, if you're listening to this, I mean, oh my gosh, that's a lie. Like, oh my gosh, like that's not, it's not even like kind of a lie. Like that's really a lie. Like, oh my goodness, that's a lie. If you think you have to come to God to be perfect, you don't quite understand salvation, and you don't quite understand relationship with God, and that's okay. Because as an unbeliever, I didn't quite understand salvation. I didn't quite, man. I remember my friend used to tell me we could just steal stuff and pray and just say, sorry God, I didn't mean to do that, and then just do it again, and then just, don't forget to ask God for forgiveness stuff. I didn't understand salvation. I didn't understand a lot of things that went on with God and relationship with God and the relationship with, just other believers before I was actually saved. And so if you feel that way and you're thinking like, yo, perfectionism, like that's probably the only way that I'll be able to get or find a relationship with God. That's a lie, and that's a lie from the pit of hell. You can find relationship with Christ, and you honestly should find relationship with Christ before you're ever perfect. Why? Drum roll. Because you'll never be perfect. It's just never going to happen. That's the paradox. Like imperfect human beings trying to find a way to be perfect. You know what I mean? Like imperfect human beings trying to make the perfect project. I don't care how great your movie was. There's no movie that any director could ever tell you came out perfectly. Why? Because they're humans who create it. Why? Because that's just how it is. Somebody might have forgot the line and it might have sounded better. Somebody might have improvised and it came out different. Somebody might have not had enough time to record certain things, and so they just jammed in and like left that in and tried to cut it out and cut a scene. Nobody's ever done a movie perfectly, especially in if that's the case, movies will be done a lot quicker because you just sit down in front of the thing, record it, perfect, done. It just never ever happens, and it never ever will because we are imperfect human beings. And that kind of brings it back to just the conversation of that perfectionist paradox. Like I said, it's silly because we are imperfect human beings, and that's biblical. I mean, if you look at Romans 3:23, it says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God," and that's not all believers. That's not all unbelievers. In fact, more than anything, that's not all believers, because a lot of believers we fall too, and struggle still with the same things that a lot of unbelievers struggle with. Um, but it's never an excuse because we have human feelings and human problems and we're not perfect to just say, well, I'm just going to wait until I got it all together. I promise you, you'll never will. And you'll be waiting a mighty long time. And so I really want to encourage you. Like, there's nothing more that you can do, nothing greater that you can do to get the love and find the love of God. Like, that's not true. That's the enemy talking to you. And so for me, I just kind of want to get back onto that. Like, what is perfectionism robbing me of? Because that's important. Perfectionism, it's robbing me. It's robbing you. It's robbing us. But what is it robbing us of? I mean, technically everything. Like, if I'm gonna be real with you, like technically everything. Like perfectionism is robbing us of everything because if we want to have the perfect job, we probably keep quitting jobs until you find the perfect job. You never find a perfect job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if we want to have the perfect spouse, you probably keep breaking up with everybody because, they didn't quite meet your list. You probably wind up breaking up with everybody because they just weren't as perfect as I wanted them to. Or, they have these qualities, but they're missing these qualities. Like, they're nice and they're sweet, but they don't treat my family well. Like, you'll never find the perfect person. Now, can there be a perfect match in the sense of you guys might be total opposites, and he finishes your sentences, and he's your yin to your yang because when you don't want to cook, he can cook, and like when he doesn't, like you don't know how to take authority, so he takes authority. Like, yeah, there's great matches. There's no perfect match. There's no perfect match in that reality. That's my thought. You tell me if you think different. But perfection is unattainable. It just doesn't exist. Other than, if we get back to the scripture again, other than in Jesus Christ, and that's in Hebrews 4:15, where it says, "The high priest this high priest of ours, understands our weaknesses, for he faced all the same testings we do, yet he did not sin. Blameless, lived a perfect life, man of God, man that is God." But that's Jesus Christ. That's the only perfect person that ever walked this earth, and I could say confidently, will be the only blameless, sinless, perfect person to ever walk this earth. I can say that with confidence, like 110% confidence. I will say that. I'll go out on a limb and say that one. And a limb is scary, so think about that. but Jesus is the only one. And so I want to even bring up the point that being a perfectionist or trying to be a perfectionist or just living a life that you don't feel comfortable unless everything is perfect, it leads to a lot of stress, and it also declines and neglects the very good news that Jesus Christ came here to live out and to die for. It neglects the good news to realistically be a perfectionist. Why? Because if you're a perfectionist, that means that you believe there is perfection to attain. If you believe there's perfection to attain, that means you believe, or you don't believe, that Jesus Christ could have been the only perfect sacrifice on this earth and is the only perfect being that ever will and have walked this earth. That means you don't receive that. Because if that's the case, then why wouldn't we die for other people's sins? We can't. We have our own. Why can't we? We're not the son of God in that sense, right? We're children of God, but we're not the son of God in that sense. Like, it's just not us. So let's first accept that, right? Can we accept that we're imperfect human beings? I hope so. Because if we can't, then we could never even get past the first step. First step is acceptance. The first step of understanding perfectionism is acceptance. Like, accept that you're not perfect because the Bible said it right there. No man is perfect. Like, none of us are perfect. None of us are without sin. We all have sinned. We all have fallen short of the glory of God. And if you can't accept that, you're already neglecting the first portion of the Bible that's telling you that. But then after that, I mean, we also do want to accept that not only are we not perfect, but we'll never be it. And I think to understand that really should help us get to a stage or get to a space or get to a mental position in where we can say, look, I'm not perfect, but I'll never be it, which means if I'm going to put out this shirt, hey, it might not come out perfect, but at least I'm going to do the best that I can. Like, if it's going to come out this way, because sometimes our best mistakes are the best things that wind up happening for us. You might have put out a post on Instagram trying to go viral every single day, trying to make the perfect post. It's not right. This lighting don't look good. And then put out one post that you thought was just whatever, and it goes viral. It could happen. For those who want to go viral, it could happen. I'm not saying it's gonna, but I've heard that a lot. Like, a lot of people's like, you don't know when it's gonna drop, and you don't know when it's gonna hit. It could be that post you didn't even expect. Hey, but why are we trying so hard just to be this perfect thing? Because perfection is something that the world wants us to attain, but realistically it's unattainable. It's just unattainable. And I'm going to get my handy dandy phone back out here again, round two, and just get back to the point. Where does this then leave us? As believers and as non-believers, as people who go to church and people who don't go to church, as people who know Jesus Christ and people who are either indifferent to Jesus Christ or interested. Where does this leave us as human beings? I don't know if you just saw that, but a fly just passed by my screen just now. That was crazy. Um, I tried to keep my cool, but apparently I didn't. I just said something. Um, but like, what? Like, where does this leave us now? I believe it leaves us where we should be. I believe it leaves us in a place where, as believers, not believers, just human beings, we should understand we're not perfect and never will be. I think it should leave us in a position where, as a believer, non-believer, whoever, we should understand that other people around us aren't going to be perfect. So other situations around us aren't going to be perfect. Even the way and even the path, like, oh, goodness gracious, even the path to where we need to get is not going to be perfect. Like, you know what I mean? The perfect path is, oh, I wake up in the morning, I get up, I go get this. This person's like, hey, you're a nice person. If you're a musician, this person, hey, you're a nice musician. Hey, you want exposure? I'm going to post you on my page. You are now famous. Like, it's almost never happens like that for almost everybody. Some people. And even that path is not perfect, because the people that sometimes it happens to, they get fame too quick and they lose it. Either mentally or lose the fame. You know what I mean? And lose the money and lose the friends and, gain a lot of fake people around them. And what's perfect about that? Nothing. Nothing. So reality wise, I just say it should leave us back to where we should understand we're not perfect. But understanding that could also bring you back to that mindset of we're gonna fail. You know what I mean? Like, if you understand, like, where does that leave you? It leaves you in a place where you understand we're not perfect, but that should also bring forth the realization that we're gonna fail. If we're not perfect, then everything will not work out perfectly. As simple as that. Like, if we're not perfect, everything won't work out perfectly. We're gonna fail. But that's usually why perfectionism happens, because we really fear that failure. We get that FOF, that fear of failure, and it paralyzes us. I talk about it often, but I bring it back again. That's where it should bring us, to understand that we aren't perfect. Yes, that's cool. But what does it mean? It means that we will fail. Write that down. Hold that into your mind. Bring that to God. Because if you don't leave room for yourself to fail, and I'm speaking to you, but it's coming straight to my heart too. If you don't leave room for yourself to fail, then you will never do anything until you have the perfect opportunity that will say you don't fail. And what is failure anyway? You know what I mean? Like, really, realistically, what is failure anyway? And by whose standards? And if you're trying to figure that out every single day of your life and everything you're doing, you lose a lot of peace. And truthfully, your dreams, your visions, your lives, and your creativity and your relationship with God and your relationships, period, should never have to struggle that hard and go through that lack of peace so often and that much stress. Be free today, man. Like, be free. Wiggle up. I'm about to dance. Just be free. Be free today, allowing yourself to understand the good news. And the good news says that God loved you so much that he gave his son so that he could die for you, and give you eternal life, that it could stop that in between, and that, because realistically, as imperfect human beings, our bodies don't want to do perfect. Our bodies just want to eat, just want to have fun, it doesn't want to do anything that has to do with Jesus. Our bodies, our flesh, no. Our spirit, sure. You know what I mean? But anything else, it doesn't want that. So there's an imperfection in us already that we're fighting every single day. But at the same time, we don't need to fight the reality that it's there. We have to understand we just are imperfect. Don't use it as an excuse. I say that all the time too. Don't use that as an excuse. I'm like, I'm imperfect. Gonna go sin. Don't. You heard that? Don't. Use that as an excuse to go sin it. Use it as a reason to understand your failures. Use it as an understanding that you will fail, and use it as a confident booster that you're gonna learn through those failures. Use it like that. I'm thinking about the conversation my friend and I had, my friend Jessica and I, and when we were speaking, Like she was just like, "What are you fearing?" And like, what is it? And I told her, it's just failure at times. Like like truthfully, like I don't want to fail at something, but that's fear, not of God. Timidity, all that stuff, not of God. Power, love, sound mind, yeah, of God. So yeah, so that's just something I was thinking about. Kind of want to remind you. I don't know if anybody needs to be encouraged today. Reminded that we're not perfect, but you're just being a perfectionist or wanting to make sure everything's right. And before you even get a chance to do it, you want to make sure that you do it perfect and release the video with 4K quality and do anything that you can to have it the perfect way, have the perfect job, and have the perfect setup. And it's not gonna come. Reality wise, now you will get a lot of things that you really wish for, dream for, and it'll be even greater than you ever thought about. That's biblical. That can happen, but for things to just be perfect, just never will. You might even get the thing you thought was perfect and then realize it's not perfect because it's not. It's how it is. It's life. It's what we're about. But that's just some encouragement for you today. Leave it all in God's hand, and like I said, it's the good news, and that's the most important part: is that God died for us. Jesus died for us, and that Jesus died for us, and He loves us. And if you understand that, you understand that He died for us because He was perfect, we were not. He's the perfect sacrifice. And if you understand that, you do not neglect the good news because then you don't think I'm perfect. And when you start thinking you're perfect or you could be perfect, then you start thinking that you can do what God or Jesus has done, and that's just wrong. Don't neglect the good news. And so I'll leave you on that. And then actually to get off on a more light note, right? Because now I'm incorporating, you hear me? I'm incorporating new things, and I wanted to incorporate with the handy dandy phone. I wanted to incorporate a very important thing. I mentioned it before. I probably did, or I feel like I should have, but I was gonna throw in dad jokes at the end of all of my episodes. Christian dad jokes. Maybe some might not be Christian, but for the most part, I'm trying to go Christian dad jokes on y'all. So look, let's get encouraged today to do everything like I said here, and to also not be perfect, but also let's hear some Christian dad jokes because who doesn't love dad jokes? I love dad jokes. That's what I'm about. So I'm here for. And so I'm gonna drop a few off. I'm gonna drop one off for you. I'm gonna drop one every episode, God willing. If I forgot, please tell me. But this is a new segment called Christian Dad Jokes. I'm never doing that voice again. All right, so you ready? So here goes a Christian dad joke. I'm gonna leave y'all on and let y'all have a merry day. This dad joke says, well, let me get in character. All right. What kind of person was Boaz before he got married? Ruthless. All right, everybody. So I'm gonna just get out of here. I'm gonna get out of here, everybody. So I hope you had a good one. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please do like, share, send off to your friends, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and be all blessed. Have a great one, everybody. Don't forget to be a good reporter because good reporters bring good news.